The spit landed with a sharp pat on the old woman's cheek. It was a bright afternoon in Abuja. The supermarket doors slid open and closed, while cars hummed past the curb. Olivia stepped out of the black Bentley in an expensive Ankara and high heels. Beside her stood her husband, Sam Okechukwu, young billionaire, cool in a white kaftan. The man news stations followed like a star. In front of them sat a small wheelchair, and in it, an old woman with grey hair wrapped in a faded blue lace. Her hands shook over her blanket. Her eyes were old but clear. "Be careful with this woman," the old woman said softly, pointing a trembling finger at Olivia. "Her greed may destroy you." Olivia did not think. She leaned down, anger burning hot and fast, and spat on the beggar. "You witch," she hissed. "Don't bring your evil near my home." The crowd froze. The supermarket guards stared. Even the wind seemed to pause. Sam's face changed from calm to confused, then to something like pain. The old woman wiped her cheek slowly. She did not beg. She did not cry. "You cannot hide, young woman," the beggar said. Then she turned her face to Sam. "Sir, this is hard to say, but I must say it. The truth is better than silence. Your wife is planning to take your life. The company documents you have been looking for are in her handbag. She called a man this morning, Django, to finish the job. When you leave this place." The air cracked. Sam's heartbeat pounded in his ears. He reached for Olivia's bag. She tried to pull it back, but he was faster. Papers slid out. The top page bore his company's seal and red stamp. "Confidential." Sam's eyes grew wide. "Olivia," he said, voice low. "What is this?" I can explain," she stammered, knees shaking. Then her phone lit up. The screen flashed a name that made the guard's eyes widen too. Django. The call rang once. Twice. Sam lifted his head and stared at Olivia. The phone rang a third time. Hours earlier, sunlight had poured through the tall windows of the Okechukwu mansion. Marble floors, a wide staircase, framed awards on the wall. Sam tied his watch and smiled at the framed photo of his late parents. He had worked hard to honor them, keeping the company honest, sponsoring tech hubs in local schools and giving jobs to young people who only needed a chance. Olivia walked in like a soft perfume. She placed a hand on his shoulder and kissed his cheek. "Supermarket first, then the bank?" she asked. "Yes," he said, checking his files. "But I can't find the early contract draft from the board." "Oh, maybe you left it at the office," she said lightly. "Don't worry, you're always careful." He shrugged, trusting. "Let's go." In the car, the driver hummed quietly. Outside, Abuja moved in glossy lines and busy color. Olivia scrolled her phone with a hidden smile. She had been different lately, sweet in public, sharp in private. Sam had noticed the small things, the cold eyes when staff made tiny mistakes, the long phone calls at night, the sudden interest in the company's safe. He had blamed stress. He had blamed his travel schedule. He had not blamed her. The Bentley slowed at the supermarket curb. Cameras always found him. Sam waved once, small, kind, quick. He stepped out. That was when he saw the woman in the wheelchair by the entrance. Her face was etched with years. Her blanket was thin. Her head was high. She did not hold out her hand. She only watched. "Good afternoon, Mama," Sam said warmly. "Have you eaten?" Before the old woman could answer, Olivia let out a short laugh, the type that cut rather than danced. "Can we go? We'll be late." That was when the woman spoke. "Be careful with this woman." The words lit a match. What followed was spit. And a truth that came like thunder. Back at the curb, the phone kept ringing in Olivia's hand. Django, until the name felt like a drumbeat. The guard shifted, eyes wide. People began to whisper. A child tugged his mother's wrapper and asked, "Mummy, why is the rich lady angry?" Olivia's mouth shook. It was the devil. I was angry. She fell to her knees on the sidewalk and grabbed Sam's hand. "Please forgive me. I was confused. Your staff mocked me. Your board does not respect me. I was angry. I only took the papers to scare you, to make you listen. I swear I didn't mean." "Answer the call," Sam said, voice steady now. "Put it on speaker." The old woman, her name tag on a small tin cup, read Mama Adanna, watched without blinking. Her eyes were gentle, but they did not move from Olivia's face. Olivia's thumb hovered. The phone stopped ringing. A message arrived. Django. We are close. Say the word. Sweat broke across Sam's neck. He felt the shape of fear, but also a different shape, something like steel forming in his chest. Call him, Sam said. Tell him it's cancelled. Now. Olivia swallowed. She dialed with a shaking finger. The line clicked. Madam, a rough voice said. Is it time? Stop, Olivia whispered. It's cancelled. Do not touch him. Delete everything. Do you hear me? It's over. A pause. Then a cold laugh. You already paid. There is no over. We see you. The call ended. The guard stepped back. A small circle opened in the crowd. Somewhere far down the road, a siren cried. Driver, Sam said, never taking his eyes off Olivia. Call the police. Olivia wept. Sam, please, I was wrong. It was Juliana, she said she told me. Sam turned to Mama Adanna. How did you know? The old woman took a slow breath. God gave me a gift when I was young. I can read the thoughts people hide when they plan harm. The gift stayed, even when life broke my legs and time took my beauty. It has saved strangers who walked away without thanks. I do not force it, but when danger stands this close, I must speak. Her voice trembled on the last word. Not with fear, but with the weight of many years that had been hard. Where is your family? Sam asked softly. My 2 sons, she said, looking at her hands, died 7 years ago on the road while coming to see me. After that, the world called me a witch. No one let me near their door. I came here because it is bright, and I can still see the Sunday. Silence pressed on the crowd like a hand. Even the harshest faces softened. The police van pulled up. 2 officers stepped out. The taller one glanced at the documents in Sam's hand, then at Olivia's phone. Madam Olivia Okechukwu, he said, voice firm. You are under arrest for criminal conspiracy, fraud, and attempted murder. In the after this, Olivia screamed, No, Sam, please, please, I'm sorry. She reached for him as the cuffs clicked shut, her gold bracelet jingling like a bell that would not stop. Sam did not step back. He did not step forward. He only looked at her with eyes that had gone far away, as if he were standing on a cliff watching the sea he once loved turn strange. The officers led Olivia to the van. Cameras flashed. Doors slammed. The van pulled into traffic and vanished. For a long heartbeat, nobody moved. Sam bent to Mama Adanna and gently wiped her cheek where the spit had dried. Mama, he said, the word catching in his throat. Thank you. You saved my life. Tears burned his eyes. He straightened and turned to his driver. David, help Mama into the SUV. She is coming home with us. The driver rushed forward. Mama Adanna's thin fingers gripped the wheelchair arms, then let go as the driver lifted her carefully. The blanket slipped, and the crowd saw how small her legs were, how time had worked like a river on stone. As they settled her into the back seat, Sam's phone buzzed again, this time not with a call, but with a new message. Unknown. You think police can protect you? Watch your back. David froze at the open door. The supermarket guard stiffened. Mama Adanna looked up, eyes alert, as if she could feel a storm moving in. Sam lifted his gaze to the busy road, the shining sun, the world that had just tilted. Drive, he said quietly, and lock the gates when we reach the house. The SUV pulled away from the curb. Shadows slid across the window glass like dark hands. Behind them, at the supermarket entrance, a man in a black cap stepped out of a small car and raised his phone to take a photo of the license plate. His mouth curled into a slow smile. The mansion gates closed with a heavy clang. David drove the SUV into the compound, his eyes flicking nervously at the rearview mirror. Sam sat stiff in the back seat, his jaw tight, one hand resting on the leather seat beside Mama Adanna's fragile frame. She leaned quietly into the corner, her blanket drawn up to her chest. Her eyes scanned the compound as if she was listening to something the others could not hear. David, Sam said, breaking the silence, double-check the cameras tonight, and tell security no one enters this place without my order. So, yes, sir, David replied, pulling the vehicle to a smooth stop. The mansion glowed under the early evening sun, marble floors reflecting gold and glass windows glittering like fire. To outsiders, it was a fortress, but inside, Sam felt cracks opening. Olivia's betrayal, the warning message from the unknown number, and now the old woman beside him, it was too much to carry at once. He turned to Mama Adanna, his voice softer now. Mama, from today, this is your home. No one will call you a witch again. You are safe here. She studied him, her wrinkled face calm but unreadable. You are kind, Sam, she whispered. But kindness often draws enemies. Do not think it is over. Evil does not rest just because one door closed. Sam's chest tightened. You mean Django? Mama Adanna's eyes grew distant. I do not know his name, but I feel his hunger. He is not finished. And your wife. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Your wife's shadow is not gone yet. Sometimes, when a heart is hardened, even prison cannot break it. Sam lowered his head. The sound of Olivia's pleading voice outside the supermarket replayed in his mind. Her eyes wide, her hands shaking. The words, I'm sorry, Sam, echoing over and over. He closed his eyes. I trusted her. Mama Adanna reached out, her thin fingers resting lightly on his hand. Trust is a good thing, my son, but blind trust kills kings. That night, after Mama Adanna was given a warm room with silk sheets and food for the first time in years, Sam sat alone in his study. The walls were lined with books. His father's portrait hung above the desk, watching with steady eyes. Papers were spread everywhere, the company documents, the lawyer's letters, and the police reports from Olivia's arrest. He picked up his phone. Another message glowed on the screen. The UNKNON number again. You stop today. Tomorrow, we won't. His heart thudded. He forwarded the message to Barrister Jude, his lawyer, and to Inspector Musa, the police officer in charge of Olivia's case. Almost immediately, Musa called back. Mr. Okechukwu, this Django is not an ordinary criminal. He has been on our watch list for years. He controls gangs in Lagos, Abuja, even Port Harcourt. If your wife contacted him, she may have promised him money that we cannot trace yet. Sam rubbed his forehead. So what do I do? Keep guards at my side every second? You do more than that, Musa said firmly. You prepare for war. The call ended, leaving Sam staring at the dark reflection of his face on the window. Meanwhile, in the prison cell across the city, Olivia sat on a cold bench with her arms wrapped around her knees. The orange uniform hung loosely on her body. Her hair, once styled with care, clung to her face in messy strands. Her cellmate, a hardened woman with tattoos creeping up her arms, laughed. Rich madam, why you cry every night? You thought you were untouchable, eh? Olivia's voice cracked. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was Juliana. She told me Sam would never respect me unless I took control. She said, Juliana? The cellmate raised an eyebrow. Your friend out there living soft, and you're here eating beans with cockroaches. Olivia buried her face in her hands. She remembered Juliana's words clearly. Asterisk, don't be weak, Olivia. Men only respect fear. Take what you want. Show him you are not just his wife, you are power. Asterisk. She thought it was strength. But now, it felt like poison. Still, in the corner of her heart, another feeling grew. Anger. Anger at Sam for exposing her, at Mama Adanna for revealing the truth, and at herself for failing. The anger whispered, this is not the end. When you leave here, you will make them pay. Back at the mansion, dawn arrived with soft orange light spilling into the courtyard. David walked the perimeter with the guards. Birds sang, but their sound was drowned by the buzzing in his pocket. He pulled out his phone. A new message. Unknown. We know your house. Tell your boss to cooperate, or we come. David's face drained of color. He sprinted inside to the study where Sam and Barrister Jude were meeting. Sir. David gasped, holding out the phone. They're watching us. Sam grabbed the phone. The message was clear. His eyes hardened. Enough, he said. If they want to test me, let them come. But they will not touch this house. Mama Adanna rolled into the study at that moment, her hands gripping the wheelchair rims with surprising strength. She looked at the phone, then at Sam. They are closer than you think, she murmured. And when the storm comes, it will not knock first. Sam turned toward her slowly. Mama, what do you see? She closed her eyes, breathing deeply. Her body trembled. Then she whispered, one of your own men will betray you. The words hung heavy in the air, like smoke that would not clear. Sam's chest tightened. Which one? But Mama Adanna's eyes opened, cloudy and sorrowful. That, my son, I do not yet know. Outside, unnoticed, a black motorcycle slowed near the mansion wall. The rider lifted a phone, snapped a photo, and rode off into the shadows. The Okechukwu mansion looked like a fortress under the morning sun. Tall gates, polished marble, and uniformed guards pacing with walkie-talkies. But inside, Sam's heart was restless. Mama Adanna's words echoed. "One of your own men will betray you." It was a warning he could not shake. Sam paced the study, his lawyer, Barrister Jude, watching silently. David, loyal and steady, stood near the door, his face pale from the threats that had appeared on his phone. "Sir," Jude said carefully, "you cannot ignore this. If Django has infiltrated your staff, it means someone is feeding him information from inside. We must act before it's too late." Sam clenched his fists. "But which one? I pay them well. I treat them like family. That is how betrayal works," Jude replied, voice grim. "It comes from those closest to you." Mama Adanna sat quietly in her wheelchair. She had not spoken since her chilling warning, but her eyes stayed sharp, darting from one man to another as if she was listening beyond their words. Finally, she said, "Do not confront them yet. Wait. Watch. The truth always rises like smoke from fire." That night, the storm began. Sam lay awake in his room, the soft glow of the lamp outlining the tired lines on his face. Down the hallway, Mama Adanna prayed softly, her voice rising and falling like waves. The guards changed shifts outside, their boots echoing against the tiles. At midnight, a strange sound broke the silence, metal against metal, faint but sharp. Sam sat up instantly. "David?" he called, but the corridor was empty. He slipped on his robe and walked toward the study. The sound came again, this time from the back entrance. He moved cautiously, heart pounding, and then he saw it, the side gate half open. A figure in black slipped inside, whispering into a phone. Sam froze in the shadows. His blood turned cold when he recognized the voice. It was Chike, the very guard he had promoted last month for loyal service. "Yes," Chike murmured into the phone. "The boss is asleep. Security cameras are looped. You can move at dawn." Sam's chest burned. Looped cameras? That meant everything he had trusted to protect his home was a lie. He stepped back, careful not to make a sound, but the marble floor betrayed him. A faint creak. Chike's head shot up. His eyes scanned the dark corridor. "Who's there?" he barked. Sam darted back toward the study, his pulse racing. But before Chike could chase him, a light flicked on. "Mama?" Sam whispered. There she was, Mama Adanna, wheeling herself out of the shadows, her face calm but fierce. "Chike," she said softly, her voice cutting like a blade. "Do not take another step." The guard froze, his mouth opened, then closed. For a moment, his eyes seemed to flicker with fear. Sam stepped forward now, anger rising. "So it's you. You sold us out to Django." Chike's hand twitched near his waist, toward the gun holstered under his jacket. But Mama Adanna's voice rang again, sharp as thunder. "Drop it." Her words shook the air. Chike's hand stopped. His eyes darted wildly, sweat dripping down his forehead. It was as though she had reached into his very mind and bound him. Sam seized the moment. He lunged, grabbing Chike's wrist and forcing the weapon free. It clattered to the floor. David and two guards rushed in at the commotion, pinning Chike to the ground. The traitor spat on the floor, glaring at Sam. "You think you've won? Django doesn't stop. He's already inside your walls. This house will burn before sunrise." The words chilled everyone. At dawn, the household was in chaos. Chike had been tied up and locked in the security room. The loyal guards checked every inch of the mansion, every camera, every gate. Barrister Jude called Inspector Musa, who promised to send officers immediately, but Sam could not shake the words, "This house will burn before sunrise." Mama Adanna sat in the courtyard, her hands folded. She looked weary, but her eyes never stopped scanning. "Sam," she said as he approached, "listen carefully. Betrayal is like rot in wood. You may cut one part, but the weakness may already be everywhere." He crouched beside her. "What do you mean?" She lowered her voice. "Django does not work with one man. He works with many. Do not trust silence. Do not trust sudden kindness. The enemy always wears a familiar face." Sam's stomach tightened. "So Chike was only the beginning?" "Yes," she said simply. Before he could reply, David ran into the courtyard, breathless. "Sir, look!" He held up his phone. A video was circulating online. The title made Sam's blood run cold. Billionaire Okechukwu's wife arrested for attempted murder. The clip showed Olivia in handcuffs, screaming as police dragged her to the van. It had already gathered thousands of comments. But that wasn't the worst part. Underneath, a new message was pinned from an anonymous account. You exposed her. Now we expose you. Tonight, the mansion falls. Sam's face hardened. He looked at David, then at Mama Adanna. They're coming, he said, his voice low but firm. And they won't stop until one of us is gone. Mama Adanna's eyes glistened, but her voice was steady. Then, my son, you must choose. Will you keep running, or will you fight? Sam looked back at the gates, his mind racing. Somewhere out there, Django and his men were moving closer. Inside, fear gnawed at his staff. And Olivia, his own wife, sat in prison, her betrayal now the talk of the nation. The sun rose higher, but to Sam it felt like a storm cloud was already hanging over the house. He tightened his fists, his heart steadying. If it's a fight they want, he whispered, it's a fight they'll get. But even as he spoke, far beyond the mansion walls, a convoy of black SUVs was already rolling toward Abuja. Django sat in the back seat, a cruel smile twisting his scarred face. The Abuja sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the mansion walls. Inside, the air was thick with unease. Guards paced restlessly, radios crackling with updates. Every creak of the marble staircase, every gust of wind against the windows made Sam's chest tighten. Mama Adanna sat in her wheelchair in the living room, her hands resting on her lap, her eyes closed as though she was listening to voices no one else could hear. David stood near the window, watching the road beyond the gate, his jaw tense. Sam entered, dressed in a black kaftan, his face carved with determination. He looked at the group of loyal guards gathered before him. We are no longer defending a mansion, he began, voice firm. We are defending our lives, our family, and everything my father built. Django believes fear can weaken us. He is wrong. Tonight, we stand. The guards nodded. Though their faces betrayed the fear they felt, Mama Adanna's voice broke the silence. Sam, do not fight with anger alone. Fight with wisdom. Django thrives on recklessness. He will use your rage against you. Sam lowered his head. Then guide me, Mama. Tell me what you see. Her eyelids fluttered open, her gaze piercing. I see fire. I see betrayal, still close. And I see blood, but whose, I cannot yet tell. Her words sank like stones into the room. Meanwhile, miles away, Django sat in the back of a black SUV, his scarred face lit by the glow of his cigarette. His men, tattooed, muscled, and armed, sat beside him, their laughter filling the car. Boss? One of them said. The mansion's guarded heavy. Police even day around. You sure we go fit enter? Django's smile was cold. Police? Guards? They are pawns. Pawns always fall when the king is weak. And Okechukwu, he is weak. His heart is broken, his wife betrayed him, his trust is bleeding. That old woman may whisper warnings, but whispers cannot stop bullets. He leaned forward, whispering to the driver. We hit them at midnight, but first, we send a message. Back at the mansion, the storm broke. It began with a single explosion, a deafening blast at the eastern wall. The guards shouted, running toward the fireball as smoke rose into the night sky. Car alarms blared. Neighbors screamed. Sam rushed out to the balcony, his eyes wide. God, they've breached the wall. David ran up the stairs, rifle in hand. Sir, get inside. They're testing us, just a warning shot. Before Sam could move, his phone buzzed. Another message. The unknown number. This is only the beginning. Surrender, or everyone inside dies tonight. His knuckles whitened around the phone. He turned to David. Strengthen the gates. Call Inspector Musa. Tell him we need backup now. David hesitated. Sir, what if the police don't come in time? Sam's eyes hardened. Then we hold this ground with our own blood. The night deepened. Inside the mansion, the family gathered in the safe room. Sam, Mama Adanna, and a few servants trembling with fear. Mama Adanna prayed softly, her words rising like a shield. Sam sat with his gun across his lap, his heart pounding. He could hear the guards outside shouting commands, the crackle of radios, the barking of dogs straining at their chains. Then the sound came, motorcycles. Dozens of them, roaring like thunder as they surrounded the estate. Their headlights flashed against the high walls, throwing wild shadows into the compound. David burst into the safe room. "Sir, they're here." Sam stood. "Keep Mama safe. I'll handle this." But Mama Adanna's voice cut across the room, sharp and commanding. "No, Sam. If you step outside in anger, you will fall into their trap. You must listen." He froze, torn between fury and faith. Mama Adanna wheeled closer, her eyes blazing with something more than human strength. "Your father's blood runs in your veins. He was not a man who bowed to fear. But remember, victory is not in the gun. It is in knowing the enemy's heart before he strikes." Sam breathed deeply, steadying himself. "Then tell me, Mama, what do you see in Django's heart?" She closed her eyes. The room fell silent, except for the hum of the generator. When she spoke again, her voice was trembling. "I see darkness. I see hunger, not for money, not for blood, but for revenge. Sam, Django does not fight you because of Olivia's money. He fights you because of your father. Something happened long ago. Something buried." Sam's eyes widened. "My father?" Before she could answer, a voice boomed outside the gates. "Okechukwu, come out and face me like a man." The voice was harsh, commanding, filled with venom. It was Django. The guards stiffened. David raised his gun, sweat dripping from his temple. Sam gritted his teeth, his mind racing. This was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a war with roots deeper than he had imagined. At the gates, Django stood tall, his men flanking him. His scar caught the moonlight, making his face look monstrous. "Bring me Okechukwu," he roared, "or I will burn this mansion to ashes." The guards aimed their rifles from the walls, but none dared shoot. The man radiated a fear that froze them. Inside, Sam loaded his weapon, his heart pounding with rage and confusion. "What does my father have to do with this?" he demanded, turning to Mama Adanna. Her face was pale, her voice breaking. "Because Sam, Django is not just your enemy, he is your blood." The words struck like lightning. Sam staggered back, disbelief etched across his face. "My blood?" Mama Adanna nodded slowly, tears in her eyes. "Django is your half-brother, the son your father abandoned." The room fell silent. Outside, Django's laughter split the night, cruel and thunderous. The storm that had rattled the Okechukwu mansion finally passed. Django was captured after a fierce confrontation with the police, and the truth of his hidden blood tie to Sam burned in headlines across the nation. Yet for Sam, the greater storm was not Django's violence, but the betrayal he had lived through the wound of Olivia's treachery. Now, in the quiet that followed, the pieces of his life began to move into place again, though not without pain. Inside her prison cell, Olivia's days bled into nights, and her nights into endless dawns. She would sit on the narrow bunk, her knees drawn up to her chest, staring at the cracked wall. The orange uniform felt heavier with each passing day. She thought about the nights she had crept into the kitchen to make those secret calls. She thought about Django's voice, promising her power and control. She thought about the moment she spat on Mama Adanna at the supermarket, blind with pride and anger. Now she had nothing. At first, she clung to hope that her best friend Juliana would visit. Juliana had been the one whispering in her ears, pushing her to believe Sam would never respect her unless she took charge, unless she showed him she was ruthless. But weeks passed, and Juliana never came. No visits, no letters, not even a message through the prison guards. One night, Olivia asked her cellmate, "Do you think she has abandoned me?" The woman gave her a long, pitying look. "Rich woman, listen. Friends in pleasure vanish in pain. If she pushed you into fire, why expect her to pull you out?" The words cut deep. Olivia realized, perhaps too late, that Juliana had used her. The same friend she trusted had disappeared into the shadows while she was left in chains. That night, Olivia cried until her throat was raw. For the first time, she whispered a prayer not for freedom, but for forgiveness. Meanwhile, life outside the prison moved on. One quiet morning, Sam walked into his company headquarters, still weary from the battles of the past months. He wore a navy blue suit, his face thoughtful. In the lobby, a familiar figure stood nervously, holding a resignation letter in her hand. "Juliana?" Sam asked, his brows furrowed. She turned. Her face carried shame, but also determination. "Mr. Okechukwu, I need to speak with you." Sam studied her for a long moment. He remembered her as Olivia's closest friend, the one who had been in and out of his house, whispering advice into his wife's ears. "What do you want?" His voice was cold. Juliana took a deep breath. "I was wrong. I gave Olivia dangerous counsel. I thought I was helping her, but I see now I was feeding her destruction. I can't stay where I am. I've resigned from my old job. Please, give me a chance to work under you. Let me prove I am not your enemy." Sam almost laughed. "You expect me to trust you? After everything?" Her eyes glistened. "I don't ask for trust. I ask for mercy. Give me work, even if it is at the bottom. I will earn my place." Something in her tone struck him. For months, he had seen faces twisted by greed, but Juliana's face now carried only guilt and humility. He nodded slowly. "Very well," he said. "But understand this, one mistake, and you will never stand near me again." She bowed her head. "I accept." Weeks turned to months. Juliana worked tirelessly in Sam's company. She started as a junior staff in administration, handling files and learning the ropes. To everyone's surprise, she was diligent, humble, and sharp-minded. Sam began to notice her commitment. She stayed late at night, finishing reports. She treated everyone with respect, from cleaners to managers. She did not chase glamour anymore. She chased growth. One afternoon, Sam called her into his office. She entered nervously, clutching a file. "You've grown," Sam said simply. "Your work has not gone unnoticed. From today, you'll assist me directly in management." Juliana gasped. "Thank you, sir. I won't fail you." He studied her. "Don't thank me. Thank yourself. You are becoming someone new." She left with her heart beating fast. For the first time in years, she felt clean. When Sam finally brought Juliana to the mansion, many of the staff were surprised. Some whispered, "Is this not the same friend of Madame Olivia?" But Mama Adanna received her differently. The old woman sat in her wheelchair at the center of the living room, her wrinkled face calm. Juliana knelt before her, tears in her eyes. "Mama, I was a bad friend. I misled Olivia. I poisoned her heart. I don't deserve to be here." Mama Adanna reached out, her fingers light on Juliana's bowed head. "Child," she whispered, "every sinner has a road to repentance. You chose yours. Rise and do not look back." Juliana wept openly. For the first time, she felt a mother's blessing, a blessing she never received in her own home. Sam watched quietly, something stirring in his heart. As months passed, Sam and Juliana's working relationship blossomed into friendship. They laughed in meetings, shared late-night strategies, and gradually, trust grew between them. One evening, after a long day, Sam invited her to dinner at the mansion. Mama Adanna joined them. Her smile was gentle as she watched the two young people speak. When Juliana laughed at one of Sam's jokes, Mama Adanna's eyes twinkled. She leaned toward Sam later and whispered, "My son, sometimes healing comes not in medicine, but in companionship." Sam said nothing, but her words lingered. Soon, his heart began to beat differently when Juliana entered a room. And Juliana, though cautious, felt the same spark. It was under the soft glow of candlelight in the mansion garden that Sam finally spoke. "Juliana," he said, holding her hand, "you came into my life when I was broken. You helped rebuild what I thought was lost. Mama calls you a blessing, and I cannot imagine my future without you." Her breath caught. Tears welled in her eyes. "Are you asking me?" He knelt, pulling out a small velvet box. Inside, a diamond ring sparkled. "Will you marry me?" She covered her mouth, her tears falling freely. "Yes, Sam, 1,000 times, yes." From the balcony, Mama Adanna clapped her hands, her laughter echoing like music. The wedding was not just a union of two souls, it was a symbol of healing. Guests filled the cathedral, dressed in bright lace and agbada. The choir sang hymns that lifted hearts. Juliana walked down the aisle in a white gown, simple but radiant. Sam waited at the altar, his heart pounding with gratitude. Mama Adanna, seated proudly in the front row, had tears streaming down her wrinkled cheeks. When the priest declared them husband and wife, the crowd erupted in cheers. Sam kissed Juliana gently, and in that moment, the past seemed to melt away. A year later, joy overflowed again. Juliana gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Sam held the tiny bundle in his arms, his eyes wide with wonder. "She is perfect," he whispered. Juliana smiled, weak but glowing. What shall we name her? Sam looked at Mama Adanna, who stood by the bed with trembling hands. We will name her Adanna, he said softly, after the woman who saved my life. Mama Adanna broke down, sobbing with joy. She reached for the child, her hands shaking as she cradled the baby close. May your name carry light into this world, she whispered. But even as happiness filled Sam's home, his heart carried a weight. Olivia. One evening, he sat in the study, staring at the case files. She had been in prison for almost 3 years now. He thought of her tears, her wasted youth, her pride that destroyed everything. Juliana entered quietly, baby Adanna asleep in her arms. You are thinking of her, aren't you? She asked. Sam sighed. She destroyed me, Juliana. But I cannot let bitterness raise my daughter. I must end this. The next day, Sam met with Inspector Musa and Barrister Jude. His decision shocked them both. I am withdrawing the case, he said firmly. Let Olivia go. Are you sure, sir? Musa asked. After all she did? Sam nodded. Yes. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is freedom. When Olivia walked out of prison, she was a shadow of the woman she once was. Her clothes hung loosely on her thin frame. Her once proud face was lined with regret. She had nowhere to go but her late parents' old bungalow, now crumbling with age. Each night, she sat on the broken porch, staring at the flickering TV inside. One evening, she saw the news, Sam, Juliana, and their baby Adanna, smiling as they launched a new charity foundation. Tears streamed down Olivia's face. She touched the screen with trembling fingers. That could have been me, she whispered. That should have been me. It's loud, but it wasn't. And so, she wept not just for what she had lost, but for the love she had thrown away. Back at the mansion, Mama Adanna rocked baby Adanna gently. Sam and Juliana stood beside her, their hands intertwined. The house that once shook with betrayal now overflowed with laughter and peace. Storms will always come, Mama Adanna whispered, gazing at the child. But dawn will always follow. And this, she kissed the baby's forehead, is the dawn God has given us. Sam and Juliana smiled at each other, their hearts full. And though Olivia wept alone in her old bungalow, Sam had chosen forgiveness. The past was not erased, but it no longer chained him. He was free. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.